Whew. Oh, sorry, guys, I'm so late. Man, it's cold out there. It's so cold that people started wearing 2 sets of pajamas to Walmart. It's so cold, I brushed up against my car and keyed it with my nipples. It's so cold out there that we're talking about winter horror movies on this episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast.
Attention planet Earth and beyond. Stay tuned for Attack of the Killer Podcast. 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 That's time for the show. Yay.
What?
Welcome, one and all, to Attack of the Killer Podcast. This is episode 332. We are calling Winter Horror. I am your host, Insane Mike, and fun fact, all of us on the show live in Iowa, and it's the dead of winter here in the Midwest, and has been getting cold as balls outside. So we thought we would chill all you listeners to the bone, discuss winter horror films. You know, I wrote that a while ago, and
I was going to say, this would have been a lot more effective last week when it was
55
actually cold.
yesterday.
It was like 50
yeah,
degrees
exactly,
today.
exactly. So this whole episode's just bullshit. Speaking of bullshit, Attack of the Killer Podcast is a horror movie podcast where a group of friends, we get together with a topic and we discuss films within that topic. We're just friends hanging out, chilling, get it? And talking about horror movies, so there's probably going to be spoilers. Now, if you like the show, I would ask you to join our Patreon, and when you do, you become part of the Attack of the Killer podcast family that we call the Attackers. As an attacker, you get all kinds of bonus content, from our YouTube shows to collector's items like our t-shirt. You can even get access to bonus episodes. Like our next bonus episode you're going to hear, we're going to be talking about our wish list for 2025. What does that mean? What could we be talking about? What's on those lists? You're going to have to join and find out. And you could even get shout-outs on the show like these attackers right here.
Timothy Lenner, Roman Doppelfeld, Larry Watanabe, Brett J. Royer, Seth Key, Jessica Irish, Chris Cook, Brian Godsell, Stefan Sitter, Brandy Moore, Andrew Mahler, Rod Hutchinson, Carmen DeHague, Abraham Ariano, Andrew Bentler, Casey Kelderman, Tony Miller, Mike Clayton, Rose Talashoma, Abe Kirshner, Lisa Cavalier, Holly Berg, Bill Fisher, Greg Dedrick, Sam Lenz, Garth Jacobson, Brett White, Tiffany DeWeese, and Scott Reevesman.
You too can be on that list. All you have to do is go to jointheattackers.com. Pick the tier to get the content you want. That's jointheattackers.com and become an attacker today. And now it's time to introduce you to our country's all-star bobsledding team, the Podcast Crew. When it's this cold out, he stands at a perfect straight angle so he'll feel like it's 90 degrees. Tad.
Hey,
He says it's so cold out that even the ATM shows minuses. Sorry, dude, I think you have a completely different problem on your hands. Jason, everybody!
Sup? Just kidding. Hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in.
It's so cold he got gonorrhea just for the burning sensation. Brian! Oh, and now speaking of burning sensations, here's Tad with what we watched.
haha, good one, Mike. What have you watched?
Well, I did make it to the theater to see a film. Saw that new Wolf Man movie. There's a space, so you got to put a space in between Wolf and Man, otherwise Universal will sue you. So yeah, Wolfman. It was a movie. It was all right.
Oh,
It was
come on.
It was
liked
it was
it.
pretty good. Oh, I liked it too. It just felt a little slow there in the middle, and they kind of felt the ending was a little anticlimactic, but I loved the concept. I loved all the conceptual things they did in this, like making werewolfism a disease that spread by bite instead of it being like a supernatural thing. The transformation sequence, although it's not like a full-on werewolf transformation, but I still thought the transformation was probably one of the more cringiest werewolf transformations probably since American Werewolf in London. The audio mix with the special effects just like really got under my skin with, cracking bone noises and stuff like that. Plus you got like stuff going on with fingernails. That's always a trigger. And I also loved as he is turning throughout the film, you're seeing things from his perspective a lot, and every time things turn into his perspective, like he can't understand what people are saying. It sounds like just gibberish. He's got kind of like this night vision thing going on. So I thought that was really neat. I thought the film, when it's not in his vision, though, was very dark, and I thought it was just shot too dark. I almost couldn't make out some things that were going on. But other than that, yeah, it was okay. Another one I watched, just watched this one. I'm trying to remember what it is. Oh, yeah.
Must be good.
I remember now. The movie's called Getaway, and I totally blanked what the movie was for a minute. It's a new... now I can't remember the actor's name.
Movie.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. Oh, Shaun of the Dead.
Simon Pegg.
Frost?
Nick Frost.
Nick Frost. God dang it. I need to go home. It's a new Nick Frost movie, and I kind of had the opposite effect of Wolfman. I pose it to you guys. Have you ever watched a movie that you were so disinterested in the first half, but once the third act kicks in, you're like, F yeah, this movie's amazing? Because that's kind of what this movie was. So basically, it's about this family. Nick Frost and his wife and 2 kids are going on this vacation. They're going to this little remote island where these villagers live, and there's like this like history on this island that is in the culture of the village. So it really screams Wicker Man at you. And I'm not going to go too much into it as far as like what I loved about this movie, because it is a bit of a reveal that just totally changed my mood about this movie. Like, I was just really starting to get disinterested, started looking at my phone too much.
It's hard to check back in on a movie.
It did not check me back in, to the point I completely forgot I'd even watched this until you started talking about it.
Okay. So you saw it, and that little reveal didn't save it for you at all.
No, because it didn't feel earned. It was just so completely out of left field. Like, wait, what? And then, like, it just kept... like, once things got really crazy, it just kept being so cute. Like, at one point, a character gets a limb chopped off. And instead of being it's like, okay, well, this person is crazy, but that doesn't mean you like are impervious to pain and bleeding to death. And then for like the next half hour, he's just running around with an arm missing, cracking cute little jokes like, oh no, I'm going to have to jerk off with my other hand. Like, what? Come on.
That quirkiness I ended up loving. Like, I can understand like totally taking you out of everything, but it just got so off the rails at that point that I was just in for it.
And then it even further annoyed me because once, like, when things start ramping up, they play my favorite Iron Maiden song, Run to the Hills.
Yeah.
And then they keep fading it out of the soundtrack to crack not funny jokes. It's like, at this point, just shut the fuck up and let me listen to Iron Maiden, please.
I don't feel like it was completely unearned, though. They kind of set some of it up in the beginning. I mean, they give you like such a
bit, but
in the restaurant where everybody was like dead.
Yeah.
You know, and when he goes to get onto the ferry, and I was like oh, you've got some blood on you or whatever, and you're like,
You've
what
got
does this
red
mean?
on you.
Yeah. It's like, what does this mean? What is this? You know, and you're waiting the whole time to figure out, like, when Brandy and I were watching it, she had this whole other theory. I won't get into it because I feel like anything I say is going to spoil it, but
And then once the things are revealed, it implies it's not just this one group, but there's somehow this big network, and none of it's elaborated on at all. And this is one of those cases where I love a movie that doesn't explain everything. I don't need my hand held. But if you're going to introduce this hard left turn in the third act and imply this huge thing that has had no hint of it being the case up until now, like, I feel like that's cheating.
Okay. It's fair. It's fair. I still had fun with it. And it's on Shudder. And wow, he's been doing a lot of horror movies over this past year or so.
Wow.
Oh, God.
Yeah, he's like every month got something new coming out. The new Nick Frost joint. It's like, what the what's going
and
on?
all of them are horror films. And I'm just like totally in for it.
Good on him. I still love Nick Frost. It's just this one was a dud, but I still want to check out that Black Cab one that he did.
Yeah.
I really like it.
And the Crazy House one.
I was going to say,
Yes,
Crazy
I
House is
can't wait for that
more
one.
one that you two should be watching. I think you'll both love it.
Oh, just the trailer alone, I'm already sold. But I haven't seen it yet. But what I have seen for my last one is I've been watching that Saturday Night Live docuseries.
Yeah.
And I only bring it up as I've only seen the first 2 episodes. Man, I started watching the third episode and kind of got a little disinterested after the baller of the second episode. So each episode is a different theme. And so the first episode is about auditioning for Saturday Night Live. So it shows all these old footage of all these different comedians and cast members that auditioned for Saturday Night Live and the bits they would do. And some of it's just awesome.
That did and didn't make it.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
There's some of them that did not make it. Like they showed Henry Sobrowski from last podcast on the left's audition.
Aww.
And it's freaking hilarious because they talk about him like he was a crazy man auditioning. Like, what did we do letting this man audition kind of thing? And then it shows the clip of him auditioning, and he's butt-ass naked he's doing his bit that you see on his Netflix special, where he comes running in late for a meeting, but he's butt-ass naked, cupping his privates, and be just like, oh, you would not understand the day I've had. And I think it's hilarious. But
You love
it
him.
really should. I do. So then the second episode is probably one of the greatest little mini docu episodes of any series ever. They do an entire episode all about the cowbell sketch. The whole episode is a documentary about the cowbell sketch, and it's like, what? Isn't this docu-series only 4 or 5 episodes long, and they dedicate one of them just for the cowbell sketch? But it's brilliant. It is such a great insight to that skit and the impact that skit had and what it still has. So then when I got to the third episode and it's about writers, which, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, and I'm going to go back and watch it and still love it, but it just kind of feels like you peaked at the cowbell sketch. You should have came up with a hotter topic than writers, maybe. Anyway, but I'm digging it. I've always been a big Saturday Night Live fan, even during the worst years of that show.
You still watch now?
No, not really. I mean, I'll pop on. I mean, I'll watch skits on YouTube and stuff, but I haven't watched a full episode in quite a
Not
while.
live.
Yeah.
We watch it basically every episode. So
Oh, nice.
I catch quite a few. It's
it was very, very strange this past weekend. Not to open up another tab, but they had Timothy Chalamet be the host and the music
Yeah.
guest.
Huh.
Yeah, wasn't he doing his
Dylan
Bob
covers.
Dylan? Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Like the ultimate Oscar parade of pick me.
Yes.
The best campaign you can do is I did Dylan deep cuts on SNL. Pretty impressive actually. Taught himself guitar.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good on him. Sweet. Well, that's what I've watched.
All right, let's go to Jason before we get to depressing dark shit that Brian watched.
Well, I watched a depressing dark shit movie last night. When we were recording this, we watched The Witch Watch Party.
Oh, yeah, we
We
did
log
do a watch
that.
party.
Yep. I just did while Mike was talking because I forgot.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Yep. Loved it. It was great. We were all nervous because it's such a good and dark, bleak movie that it would suck to do a chat with, but I thought it was pretty good. One of the
Yeah.
better ones.
Yeah, I felt like there wasn't a lot of lulls.
Yeah, and Mike was on his A game. Funny man.
Was it? Like, no one was reacting
Oh,
to anything I was saying.
Tiffany and I were here laughing our asses off. A couple nights ago before that, or a week ago, Tad and I, he got to see Silent Rage. I'll let Tad talk about that. It's his first time at Bill's birthday party. That was a good time. But the only other real thing that I watched, which I freaking loved, and it's called A Real Pain, directed by Jesse Eisenberg, and it's wonderful. That Kieran Culkin, and it was just so fun. So, I mean, not fun, but it was, a road trip movie, but with these crazy kids, and I would recommend it all day. It was great. And that's what I watched.
Say it's up for, I believe, best original screenplay, and Kieran's nominated for supporting actor, but not director, which I thought was interesting. So Eisenberg has no nominations, but
it came to our theater this coming weekend, or it's coming this weekend.
yeah, isn't that interesting? Like that's what happens with these Oscar movies. They local theaters will wait. Yeah, they'll wait until they're nominated, then put them out, and it's like that shit came out 6 months ago. It's already streaming.
Could have used your help back then.
It's literally on Hulu right now. And Mike, Saturday night, have you watched that one yet?
No,
not
it's
yet.
on.
I really
it's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
Oh,
now.
no shit. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
just dropped this weekend on Netflix. So watch that.
All right. I'll see you guys later.
What else do you watch, Jason?
That's it for me.
All right, let's get this
He's
over
just
with.
hoping you watched other stuff because he doesn't want to hear me
Yeah.
talk about it.
All right, Brian, what sick shit did you watch?
Not all of it was sick. So, this was one I actually was spamming the chat as I was watching it. The Boy in a Magic Box. It's a Taiwanese fantasy action movie about a boy in a magic box. I have it on a horrible VHS rip with no subtitles, and that's the only way to watch it. So I really have no fucking idea what was happening in the movie, but it was crazy because there's all sorts of wacky monster shit and crazy special effects, and there's dragons and dinosaurs and fire breathing and kung fu, and if you can find it, it's a lot of fun and worth watching, even though you can't understand any of the dialogue. I watched Divine Emmanuel, which is not actually called that. It goes under a bunch of other titles, Love Camp being the main one. This was a sexploitation movie made as an ego project by a German pop singer, where Laura Gemser, hence the Emmanuel retitling, runs a sex cult, and this pop singer is like her boyfriend and helps her recruit people. And there are songs in the movie. Oh boy, are there songs in the movie. I still have one of them stuck in my head. But here's one that Tad will like. I think it's an A24 movie. I'm surprised, or maybe you've seen it already. A Different Man.
Not yet.
But you know what it is, yeah.
Yeah, it's basically like a modern sort of Elephant Man type movie, right? With Sebastian Stan?
Ish. It's more like if Larry Fessenden from the mid-'80s with like a $10,000 budget was trying to make The Substance. So Sebastian Stan plays this guy with what, I forget what the name of the disease was the Elephant Man had that did that to his face, but he has that. But he's like a really sweet, nice guy, and this hot neighbor moves in, and so he's like all fawning over her, but of course he looks like that, so he's nervous and everything. And then his doctor says, we have this new procedure that might fix your face. And so they do this thing, and slowly his face changes to the point where he looks like Sebastian Stan, and he gets a part in a play, and he's like, his life is starting. And then he meets this guy whose face, he actually comes in to audition for the play that he's working on, and has the same thing wrong with his face, to the point where it even kind of looks like Sebastian Stan's face before he got altered. And this guy but he's so charismatic and does not give a fuck what he looks like, that it's not a problem for him. Like, women are hanging all over him. Everybody loves him. And Sebastian Stan now is this handsome son of a bitch who should be, living it up. And slowly his life just starts to deteriorate as he realizes that, it's one of the looks aren't everything, basically. But it's pretty good.
Michael Shannon's in it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Mike and Jason, you guys will be happy that I got around to watching Trap.
Yay!
Eh.
Okay.
Saw that.
It was fine. It was mostly a showcase for his daughter's music, which thankfully wasn't bad. So there's that. I mean, I didn't dislike it. It's good. I just, let's see what else. Oh, I rewatched Face Off for the first time in forever. I forgot how fucking crazy that movie is.
Like the one I'm thinking?
Huh?
The Nick Cage Travolta one?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
watched that
haven't seen it
like
since
at
high
least
school.
twice a year. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember, like, man, like watching it, because the first time I saw it, I had never seen another John Woo movie, so I didn't really know what that meant. And watching it now with a lot more Hong Kong cinema under my belt, going, oh my God, this is a fucking Hong Kong movie that just happens to have John Travolta and Nicolas Cage in it. So I guess we'll get to the depressing stuff that Tad was talking about, and then one more thing and we'll be done. I decided to do a feel-bad double feature of Combat Shock and Last House on Dead End Street.
Oh.
Just got unsober and watched those back to back, and oh boy, was I not feeling good by the end of that night. But it was on purpose. I love that. I don't know, that sounds weird, I'm sure, but I love movies that make me feel awful. I was talking about this with a friend a few days ago, that when you're younger, like when I was, a teenager and in my 20s, like I just wanted to see the sickest shit, whatever. Although I always kind of drew the line at like the August Underground stuff, not so much because it grossed me out as that I don't care. I still need a story to engage with. I don't just want to see, like, a bunch of gore scenes aren't going to have any effect on me, right? I need to inhabit the world of these gross, grimy characters. And now it's not so much needing to be like, an edgelord. I don't give a fuck what anyone else thinks of the movies I watch, although I do enjoy the horrified reactions from you guys every once in a while. But I don't know. There's something about a movie that just makes me feel absolutely miserable in the right kind of way that I absolutely love, which is why The Coffee Table was so high on my list for the year end last year. But yeah, Last House on Dead End Street is a guy who made porno, gets out of prison, and decides he's going to start making snuff movies to really freak out the squares. And Combat Shock is, it's like a PTSD thing, where a guy was in Vietnam and got sprayed with Agent Orange and came back and has no job and lives in a shitty apartment, and his wife got knocked up with his, like, deformed Agent Orange baby that just cries all the time and looks like somebody put E.T. in the microwave. And it ends with he shoots his wife a bunch of times because she won't die, and then shoots the baby, and then puts it in the oven and turns the oven on, and then blows his own brains out. So,
Wow.
feel good hit of the year.
Oof.
And Runaway Train, that was fantastic. It was Danny Trejo's first screen appearance. I think he has like one line of dialogue in the movie. He's just in a couple of prison scenes at the beginning. But it's Eric Roberts and John Voight break out of maximum security prison and have the terrible bad luck to decide to take shelter on a train whose conductor has a heart attack and falls off and is just barreling down the tracks at 90 miles an hour while they're trying to figure out how to jump off without shattering every bone in their body. And the railroad commissioner, people in the office who are watching and organizing all the train's paths are trying to stop it from, going into a populated area and killing everybody.
I like that movie. I've seen it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'd never seen it before. I didn't realize it was it was originally a script by Akira Kurosawa that they then bought and redid in English. And then finally, caught up. So now I've seen all of Robert Eggers' stuff. We watched The Northman last night. Oh my God, that's good. Mm-hmm. And I did not realize, like, I was just expecting it to be like a straight historical drama kind of thing. I didn't realize there was going to be all the mysticism in it, to the point where it doesn't feel so much like just a movie about Vikings as it feels like a Conan the Barbarian type thing, you know, like a sword and sorcery
Just a little more to it.
fantasy kind of movie. But yeah, I like, oh, that's one I need to buy and have a copy on my shelf because that movie is incredible. All right,
Yes.
so Tad, now that we've spent 6.5 hours talking about the shit I watched in the last 2 weeks, what have you watched?
Quite a bit. I watched Wolfman in the theaters. I liked it. I like the grounded take on it. I thought it was cool. Like, I like that Lee Wanell, you know, he made like a grounded Invisible Man. How would the Invisible Man actually, if it was somehow possible, work? Okay, this is it. And it's actually a story about domestic abuse and manipulation and shitty people. And then it was like, well, what about Wolfman? It's a story about family and happens to have someone who gets infected. But I thought it was actually really good. I can see why people didn't dig it, but I thought it was really good.
I like that one a lot too. We did see that one. I felt if it had like maybe 5 to 10 more minutes of character stuff, parts of it felt a little rushed. Like there needed to be some more quiet moments before it felt like he got some studio notes saying like, pick up the pace. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I talked to you about it a little bit, you and Terry, because we just kept making like dog jokes in the theater because we were the only people in the theater.
Yeah.
So anytime, there was something he was doing, I was like, good boy, just stupid, stupid. I was like, if Mike was here, he would love these ones. But there's a scene where this isn't a spoiler, but he like one of you two, I don't remember if it was Mike, said like he can't I think it was Mike. He can't understand what anybody's saying, but like she hands him a notepad and a pen and is like, write what you want to say because he can't speak. And like it was very dramatic. And in the theater, I was just like, what if he just wrote like wolf? That'd be funny.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. But then something really sad happened a few weeks ago and David Lynch died. So I went on a Lynch binge, which it has its ups and downs as far as emotions. I jumped right in and watched Twin Peaks Firewalk with me. Actually, funny enough, that's like I have the Criterion edition thanks to Andy. He had it already, and he got a copy as a wedding gift, and he gave me his extra copy. So it's sort of cool just to be like putting on physical media that Andy gave me. That was nice, and we always bonded over our love of Lynch and especially Twin Peaks. So I don't know. I have this like connection in my brain of like Andy and David Lynch, and it's just like makes it a little extra sad. But follow that up with Blue Velvet, which is probably my favorite of his features. I love Blue Velvet.
Mine too.
And it's just so like it's been several years since I've sat down and watched it because it can be pretty sad too, but and very heavy. But young Kyle MacLachlan and young Laura Dern it's like they're babies in this. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And then I went the other way and watched Wild at Heart, which I think is his most fun movie. Nick Cage is perfectly cast in this one, but it's like even in you think David Lynch, Nick Cage together is going to be wild, and no, it is Wild at Heart, but I think he just like is perfectly cast in this as like not crazy Nick Cage, but just right on that level he needs to be. And this is one of his like most linear, make sense type movies. It's not that hard to follow. And then I chased it with The Straight Story, which is his absolute most straightforward, normal. It's a Disney movie. Have you guys seen The Straight Story?
I have not.
I think I have.
Brian?
Sorry, I was muted. No, I have not seen The Straight Story.
But are you guys aware of The Straight Story?
Yeah, I know what it is. I just haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's on Disney Plus. It is so strange to like watch this, and because that's been one of my like a movie I hadn't seen of Lynch's, and I sort of just didn't really have interest in like seeing what a normal David Lynch movie would be. And holy shit, the guy can just. It sort of reminds me of Starman, where John Carpenter's like, yeah, I do horror movies, but like I can rock the shit out of
movie.
Yeah, I can make like a normal movie, and here it is. And now back to your regular scheduled program. But Straight Story, like, it made me cry. It was so good. It's on Disney Plus, and then I went way out there in Inland Empire, which is probably my least favorite. It's just so damn hard to follow, and the way it's shot, it looks like a student film. And I know that was his intention, but it's very long, and just the way it's shot, it's just not my favorite. Laura Dern's good in it, but it's just one I probably revisit the least out of his catalog. I watched a new documentary on Prime called This Is the Tom Green Documentary. So I fucking love Tom Green. Loved Tom Green when he was on MTV.
Yep.
Like, got really into him. I've seen him and met him several times on the road. Like, we've been seen him in Chicago, St. Louis. He came to Burlington. He's just one of my like teenage heroes. I love that he skateboarded and fucked with people, and he was like very sort of like punk rock, like one of the first people to do his own thing. Like, you know, he went from like, me and my friends are going to make a show, to public access, to MTV during the Jackass age. And then like moved on to doing his own, like a podcast before podcasts were a thing at his house. And this documentary is fascinating. It's on Prime. They're doing so he wrote and directed this himself. Then his new stand-up special comes out, I think, this week. And then the following week is like a new docuseries, because now he lives in Canada on a farm. So it's interesting. But the documentary is really cool, especially if you're not like really knowledgeable about him, because it starts like when he's a kid, and he was in like a very successful Canadian rap group. And yeah, trying to remember the
Three words that don't go together. Successful Canadian rap group.
Yeah, and they sort of had some hits and stuff, and then he used that of like, you know, what if like we did pranks and skateboard and stuff, and turned that into like this TV thing, and then it evolved into like, you know, the street shit that he did. And then yeah, it was I highly recommend it. I think it's only like an hour and a half. It's on Prime. It's brand new, and like I said, he directed it, so it's very, very fascinating. And then the final thing I'll talk about, just because Jason brought it up, is Silent Rage. We watched it at Bill's place. Bill had kept teasing us all night about what movie we were going to watch.
All night.
And then Bill didn't know where it was streaming or could not find it, and we had to download an app, and we finally watched. I mean,
yeah.
I think me and Jason might have been the only two to stay awake for it.
Yeah, we were the last two. Made it to the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
awesome.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's definitely fun. It definitely would be
awesome.
something. It's definitely something that would, you know, play at my birthday party.
Yeah.
You know, just ridiculous, and it is the best part. Maybe was like Bill would do his best like MST3K riffing, and then he would fall asleep for 10 minutes. Wake up randomly, give one word or one line, and
Banana couch.
Right back to sleep. Yeah. And sleep for 15 minutes, wake up, have one more riff, fall right back. It's like we thought he was sound asleep, and then one joke, and then look over to even react to it, and he's already asleep.
Already
back
to sleep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, did he even say that, or did we imagine it?
Yeah. And so that was fun. You know, he did it at the end of the party, so we were the only ones subjected to it, the ones that stuck around. So thanks, I guess, Bill.
Thanks.
That's what I watched.
All right, awesome. So, time to talk about some winter horror films. Tad, what's our first movie we're going to talk about?
It is from 2010. It is Adam Green's Frozen.
You guys sure about this?
Yeah, it works all the time. All you have to do is go over there and you say, like...
I said that I could pay for all 3 lift tickets, and then I left my credit card at the gas station.
Right.
Totally on money. Just not enough for all 3.
Last run, gotta make it count. Steph.
It's Sunday, and they're not open again till Friday.
If we're up here all week, we're gonna die.
Oh my god! Oh my god! I don't want to die of it! Help!
3 skiers stranded on a chairlift are forced to make life or death choices which prove more perilous than staying put and freezing to death. This is my favorite Adam Green movie. It has almost no humor to it. It has, I mean, of course it's Adam Green. It has to have some levity, but for what his...
Wicked good humor.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like I saw this when it first came out. I've seen it several times. It used to be one I would throw on in the winter, and I still do, and I still really, really do like it. Just like any of his movies, the dialogue sometimes is very Eli Roth, bro-y. The chairlift guy, the ski lift guy, he always pulls me out of the movie because he's not a great actor. The guy that's running the chairlift. I don't even know if he has any. He has like 2 lines, but for some reason he just comes off as so like this must be like a friend that he just pulled in. But it's still like there's certain scenes that really get to me. It's funny because when I jump on Letterboxd to log things, I always see like, you know, who else has seen this movie, and I had to go see what Erica had to say because she gave it like a 0.5 star.
Oh,
and I think she was like mad that she's like, you know, wolves wouldn't prey on a person, especially at a ski resort, and I'm like, man, don't like take me out of it because my ignorance helps me enjoy this movie. You know, I don't want to know that. I want to think that, you know, the wolves will just be waiting at the bottom for you to fall out of a ski lift. And I've always sort of just like, I'm not that bad with heights, but like when you see ski lifts, it just seems so sketch in general.
yes.
Like,
Have you ever been skiing and been on one?
fuck no.
Because I am terrified of heights. And when I was in 6th grade, our class trip for the year was to, I forget where, it was probably the one up by Minneapolis, to a ski place. And it's like once you get on them, it's not that bad because there's like a little bar that comes down, and you know.
Yeah, that
not
your hand
like
can
just
freeze to.
Sure can.
Well, yeah. I mean, I didn't get stuck on it or get eaten by wolves, so there's that. But
Like last year in the fall when we went to Disney, which park was it? One of the parks has, no, it was at the, no, I'm thinking something different. I'm thinking of the San Diego Zoo when we went in the fall. They have like a similar
skiing
system.
with wolves. Oh.
No, they have a similar thing where you can go from like, if you're all the way in the very far back corner of the zoo, it's so huge that you can take like a little gondola from the back to the front. And it's at least enclosed, but it's very high up. And
Feels
even
so
that,
sketch.
yeah. I'm like,
Just
how is
do.
this like, I can literally just jump out and die right now. And I'm like, how they have kids and stuff. And so I'm already sort of freaked out by it. And then this movie is great. Like, I bet Mike loves it because it's one location, 3 people essentially.
Yep.
You know, it really relies on, you know, atmosphere of like, holy shit, like what will they do? What will they do? And I've always appreciated, you know, because Adam has a great sense of humor, but this one is like, it's just doom after doom and things just continue getting worse. There's like no light at the end of each tunnel. It's like, oh, you know, the guy's finally going across the wires and he's got to the second thing. And it's like, here come the wolves again. You know, it's just, I mean, I guess it does have sort of a happy ending, but, yeah, it's
Barely, yeah.
yeah. I mean, happy, you know, I don't know. I wouldn't say a happy ending. It has, it's not the,
It's not the worst ending.
yeah, it's not the Mist, but it's I really and I remember going to, and Brian probably knows this place. There's like a I think it was. There's like a big movie and record store somewhere in Minneapolis, huge, and
Well, it could be there.
It
That's
might-
probably Cheapo's. Cheapo
I don't know.
Records. They had several locations.
but we went.
I think all but one of them are closed now.
I don't know if it was that or is Electric Fetus big?
No, Electric Fetus
No?
is tiny.
Okay, because this place is huge. I know we went to
Cheapo was, especially the Uptown location, was
Yeah.
really huge.
It was.
So that's probably the one you're thinking of. They
But
had
I
a
just-
used bookstore down in the basement too.
I just remember like I was going through like the movie section of horror, and they had Frozen, and they had a big like thing that said like not the Disney Frozen. You know, it's pretty funny. And I remember like when this came out, you know, I'm talking about it on socials, and people were like, you know, or when the Disney or Pixar Frozen came out, and I was jokingly like, "You let your kids watch that? Holy shit!" But I mean, as all of us who have cold, snowy winters can relate a little bit, but then again, I'm sort of like, this is like Jaws in the snow. You know, I'm not. You're not going to find me skiing anytime, so
Yes.
I'm not going to find myself in this position, but definitely claustrophobia. It has, you know, those elements of the thing where you're deserted and isolated, and it's a genius idea of a movie, and it's pretty well done. Pretty good execution, all things considered. So I hope you all like it too.
I'm right there with you, Tad. This is also my favorite Adam Green movie, and I'm an Adam Green fan. I like all of his movies, but this one, and I mean, you called it. I don't know what else I can really say because you basically gave my review for me. It's 3 people and one little location, the most littlest of locations on a ski lift on one seat. You know, small storyline, and the rule is if you can entertain me with so little for an hour and a half, I'm sold. So this movie does that. The whole wolf thing, and you know, Erica's not the first one to gripe about the wolf thing, and I get it. Maybe it is a little bit over the top because, you know, the first guy that goes down and gets devoured by the wolves, they like basically eat him clean. There's like nothing left but some scraps. That seems a little bit far-fetched to me, but I don't care. It's a freaking story device to add more tension to the situation, and it works in my opinion. You know, does everybody complain about Jaws because sharks really don't hunt and kill humans in the ocean?
Some
No,
people do.
but that's considered to be one of the greatest movies of all time. So who the F cares? So
Especially not vindictively. Like, that shark is an asshole.
He's chasing them, yeah. Yeah, I'm curious if Jason. I'm trying to guess. I think Jason likes it, but he struggles with how it's the characters never get a break. Am I right?
Oh, well, yeah, I guess. No, but I do love this movie. It's great. Same with you. I saw it right away. I love the film. I love Adam Green's stuff. It had to be a bitch of a bitch to film. He's gone on about it forever on his podcast, you know, and it's fun to hear how terrible it had to have been, you know, but
yeah,
But, I mean, you get to look at Temu Zac Efron all day, so
yeah.
it's literally shot in those elements. It's not
Yeah,
on a
it's not-
set
Right.
or anything. You know, it's literally shot in the dead of winter, up on top of a ski lift. Yes, it for what he had to put up with, it is shot very
Yeah,
well.
it
Like
is.
that shot, you hear it in that trailer, but that shot when the lights are going out on the ski lift is really impressive in my opinion, because it builds that tension, it builds that like, oh shit. But not only that, but it's such a wide shot, again in the den of weather, with your camera so high up off the ground, and your lighting had to be so high up off the ground because it's not like those lights go out and it's pitch dark. You know, you still have to have some light in that scene. So it's an impressive feat. I mean, Adam Green's kind of an idiot to take probably like such a simple concept and
Make it as hard as
and
possible.
make it as hard as possible to make it. Yeah, but I love him for it.
And for me, it was way different this time after we got past the Frozen thing with Tiffany and Bailey and it not being Disney, because they had their set of jokes about it until we
Couldn't they
watched
just
it.
let it go?
No.
Oh.
See, yeah, that was part of it.
About did a spit take.
But once it got going, they both were frozen to their seats.
Mm-hmm.
And but it was watching it again through their eyes. That's one of the fun joys of of these movies and movies. But so them not knowing what was happening next, them freaking out every time something happened. I will never see Tiffany touch a piece of metal in the winter ever again. That scene of the hand on the thing.
Cringing every time.
She was so beyond grossed out by it. It was incredible. Even the next day, we're at dinner and her and Bailey were talking about the movie. Bailey was telling her friends at school about it. It was like awesome. So it was a lot of fun to watch it this time, like it always is.
Yeah, I remember showing this when it first came out, watching it with Nikki for the first time, and it's one of those movies where she audibly reacts to it, which is always fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh no, oh no, oh no, that type of thing. So, Brian.
Oh God.
Yeah, I mean, well, no, I like this movie too. It's just like Mike said, you guys pretty much said all there is to say. It's good. It's not perfect. There's lots of things to like. Emma Bell being chief among them. I guess the only thing I can really add is that the bit at the end when she's walking by the corpse that the wolves are chowing down on, but they're so busy eating they ignore her. It just always reminds me of that old joke about the two guys in the tent on safari, and they hear a lion roaring near the tent, and one guy starts putting on his shoes, and the other guy says, "What the fuck are you doing? You can't outrun a lion." And the first guy says, "I only have to outrun you."
Yeah.
Yep.
They're already eating, so.
Heck yeah. I remember some other complaints about this movie, poking fun at the coldness of it all, and obviously those are people who have never lived in the Midwest before, because I feel it's
like they don't believe it gets cold enough your hands can freeze to stuff.
One of the gripes I remember back in the day is people complaining about how it can't be that cold, you can't see their breath. Well, that's because their body temperatures have dropped down to the point where you can't see their breath. It's even more realistic than if you could see their breath through the whole movie.
For me, it was, if you're really that cold, you'd button your fucking coat up all the way and put your hoodie up. What are you doing? Looking cool sitting there in the seat like an actor.
Yeah, that's true. And do you think Sean Ashmore got Iceman because of this movie?
Yeah, you
probably
do.
not, since wasn't that before this?
Was X-Men before? Was X-Men before this?
The first X-Men was like 06 or 07, I think.
Yeah, but he wasn't. He didn't show up as Iceman until the second one, right? Or was he in the first one too? I don't remember.
I think he was there just like a hint, like he's in a classroom and he does a little ice thing with his hand, but that's it. And then he shows up.
Oh, so never mind. So do you think he got this movie because he was Iceman in the X-Men movie?
I think so, yeah.
Anyway,
Kane Hodder, you didn't say that yet.
Oh, yeah, and a nice little cameo there by Kane Hodder, Adam
one of the
Green
most frustrating scenes, but that's what it's made for.
Oh, yeah.
Just had to throw something on his way up the hill. What are you doing?
Yeah. Love this movie. Yeah. Love Adam Green. I wish the poor guy could make some more movies.
Yep.
What trivia do you have?
Does he just never, does his movies never quite make enough money for, the Hatchet movies are obviously really popular, but
I feel
why is he not bigger? It seems weird.
I feel like he hit a magic spot when he came up as a filmmaker where there was still independent productions giving people money to make movies, and he is kind of sadly still set in that mindset. And no one is out there giving out money for independent pictures like that anymore.
Right.
The means of independent productions, I guess I should say, has changed from back then. But I don't think he's kind of cracked that.
No mid-budget stuff like he's doing, where it's either like you fund it entirely yourself or you get a studio behind you, kind of thing.
Yeah, something like that.
He got trapped on one hand of being the guy who can make a movie cheap, which is a blessing but a curse. It gets you stuck. But then he's on the other side, he's a big crybaby because nobody's, recognized his brilliance and is helping him get there because he can't fund what he needs to himself now. It's tough.
That's a little harsher way of putting it. I agree with that.
I listen to the podcast.
I kind of stopped because that was kind of like all it was there for a while.
Because he didn't want to pay to hear the second half of each episode?
Well, that's also why I stopped. Don't even get me started on that. That bullshit.
That is some bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, start a podcast where everything is free, and then it's like, oh, we need money, so we'll do Patreon, and everything we've been giving you for free, we start taking away from you and making you pay for it to the point where you can't even get a full episode.
Good job, Tad. Good job.
But I love Adam Green. So what trivia do you have for this, Tad?
Sort of mentioned this a little bit, but the film was shot entirely practically, meaning no soundstage, green screen, CGI. The actors and actresses were truly suspended over 50 feet in the air on the side of a real mountain in Utah. Get me too. To get the shots of the chairlift moving with the actors and actresses speaking on it, writer and director Adam Green and director of photography Will Barrett shot everything themselves as the film's hired camera crew was too nervous to dangle at these heights. Which I'm sure you've heard on the podcast. Adam Green uses much of the same key crew positions in every project he does and chooses his projects based on whether or not he can work with his friends, which might be a reason he isn't making anything. The man on the missing poster in the lodge is Green's usual camera operator, BJ McDonnell, who couldn't shoot this movie because he was already booked to work on Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Good choice, BJ. The poster is meant to be a shout out and a dig at BJ for missing the shoot.
That's fun.
Because he probably got paid more to make Halloween 2 than he did working on every one of Adam Green's movies put together.
Yeah, exactly. And then the final thing I have is when the wolf takes down Joe. It is a border collie in that one shot. The German Shepherd that was trained to do the stunt mysteriously died 2 nights before the scene was shot.
Oh, I should have rewatched the commentary track for this before this episode. Dang it. I'm really kicking myself now because I know there was a lot of really interesting stories about working with the wolves that I can't remember now.
They said that, like, some of the other trivia said that there was some close scenes where they got a little too excited and close to Shawn Ashmore, and there are times where they had to, like, cut, and the trainer had to come in and intervene, and like his reactions are some of the stuff we actually see on screen because he's genuinely fucking scared that these dogs are going to rip his face off.
Heck yeah, I would be too.
But he should have just read Erica's Letterboxd review, and he would have known that he's completely safe.
Okay, man, we're just be mean to everybody.
Love you.
Yes, we love you, Erica. Okay. So, Jason, what's the next film we're going to talk about?
The next film we are going to talk about tonight comes all the way back from 2007. Talking about Wind Chill.
We had a class together, Intro to Modern Philosophy.
What? There's like 1 million people in that class. It's like Woodstock.
So, are you doing anything over the break?
I'm getting that laser eye surgery.
But your glasses look so good on you.
How would you know? I never wear them outside my dorm.
The National Weather Service has issued a winter storm warning for the entire eastern seaboard. Temperatures will plunge with a wind chill reaching 30 degrees below zero.
What the hell is this? Are we lost or something?
It's a shortcut.
Get back on the highway.
Down, relax.
Pull over.
Where do you want me to pull over? There's no
Hello?
Any luck?
I can't get a signal.
the hell's wrong with you? What did I do?
You drove us here!
You think I intentionally arranged for us to get stranded? What kind of a psycho do you think I am?
Hello? We just had an accident. We could really use some help here. What the hell?
Hey,
It was weird. I just saw some guy he's gone. It's like he was...
there's the ruins of an old house or something up on the hill. I didn't see anyone. There's somebody up there. But I found these old newspapers.
2 found dead in tragic accident. Family freezes in car. Police officer burned alive. Every winter there's freak accidents on this road. They say when you freeze to death, it's just like going to sleep.
Just before their university campus goes quiet for the winter break. Just before their university campus goes quiet for the winter break, a young woman, Emily Blunt, asks a classmate for a lift home. The 2 students set off on their trip and begin to get to know each other. But when a reckless motorist drives them off the road, they find themselves stranded in the snow on a remote highway. As the night grows colder, the 2 are confronted by a horde of menacing apparitions and struggle to escape with their lives. Directed by Gregory Jacobs. This was it was a TriStar film. I love seeing the old Pegasus get up there. And music by Clint Mansell, like great score on this movie. But it was, for me, is a product of skipping it because it was just another 2000s movie. You know, like I remember seeing the cover, the DVD out the whole time. It was just pass. I just never cared about. I just never took the chance on it, and so this is the first time watch for me. So tickled pink to see Emily Blunt as a little kid. Just
a way
acting.
to make me feel creepy, you asshole.
Yeah. Oh no.
Just a baby.
Well,
and you're all bricked up for a creep.
Oh no,
Bricked
she's
up.
that's good. Ted bringing the kid slang on this one.
No cap.
Well, I thought it was Edgar Allan Poe slang.
Oh,
Cask of Amontillado. Anyway.
Emily Blunt, guys. It was awesome to see her. I felt like, this is just me just telling you guys, I felt like I could feel her fighting that British accent the whole movie a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely snuck through a few times.
But like,
yeah.
It's clear that since then she's gotten way better at hiding it and being American. But
he fixes that.
Here's the thing. I liked this movie a lot. Through most of it. Like, I enjoyed the him and her, the little cat and mouse. Is he bad guy? Oh, maybe he's good. Oh, maybe.
Yep.
Oh, he's bad. But maybe he's just that adorable, friendly, not good guy. You know, he's just a creep and not a bad guy. Oh, well, you know, what is it? And all that interplay through the car wreck was great. Even, but I know you know, but like the second.
Yep, as soon as it went supernatural for me.
The second it turned supernatural. And I'm not even saying that if you love supernatural that this doesn't make sense. The supernatural part's probably solid and great and is cool for that. But man, that shit's not for me. I'm like, God damn it, this movie was doing all right.
Pulled me out of it.
And I thought Martin Donovan was a badass. The patrolman dude, I like that guy. He was good. And I grew to love the blonde kid. And but I could just give to, because the thing is, that's why I hate fucking supernatural ghost shit. Is like, once it's introduced, it's like, well, who cares about rules?
Yeah.
I'm like, sure, this is it time travel, I guess, where they go back? What is that? It's cool. It's neat.
Well, they're stuck in the loop of the event repeating itself.
Yeah.
That's, a big part of haunting things is that, the area has still got all this negative psychic energy, and that it just keeps repeating.
Yeah, and that makes sense, and that's cool.
But also,
I loved because when it was starting right before I really got out of it, I was like, I really liked that they tied it, because I was just happy I remembered something, because in the beginning they talked about reincarnation and stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's great, that ties into this whole thing. That's awesome of them to foreshadow that. And then I was like, oh, what's happening? This ghost shit, I don't care. But no, I mean, I think the story wise of it is good, like what you said, Brian, but it just takes me out. I don't, because it's like, well, we're not in reality anymore, and that's me. But I liked it. If you just take that one thing out, I liked it.
Well, here's my thing with that too, on the supernatural side of things. Okay, help me out if I missed something, because I'll tell you what, I may have tuned out at certain points of this movie, but why them? Like, are they the only people that drive up and down that road? Like,
No,
does
but
this
they were
happen?
the only people who were stuck there.
Yeah, there's a lot of history on that road.
So it's just, does it had to be like a super bad snowstorm for ghosts to run them off the road and then ghosts to haunt them for the rest of the movie? I don't.
But this is where Jason comes in and says, once you go supernatural, it doesn't have to have logic.
Right. A ghost can burn a hole in your glove in reality, but not be actually there.
Yeah.
What?
I guess. So, I mean, just like with Frozen, I like stories with limited locations, limited casts, minimal stories. And if you could keep me invested for the whole movie with that, then I'm sold. This does not do that.
I was going to say,
this does not do that at all. I mean, yes, I'm right there with you, Jason. Once the ghosty stuff happens, I just started tuning out. I was still kind of hopeful that maybe it'd kind of come back around and be, it's just like two people stuck in a car. One of them is like unsure of the motivation of the other one. And they set that up so well throughout the first half of like, this is the ride I'm in for. And I'm in it to win it, but.
And I'm not trying to shit on the supernatural stuff. I think it's done. I think it's written well and done well. It's just, it isn't for me is all I'm trying to, how I'd put it. But.
I could say in defense of this movie that I had a different expectation. So that's maybe on me. But like once the ghost stuff started happening, I was not invested anymore. I'm done.
Well, much like Jason, I remember walking past this in the video store, I don't know how many times, just turning up my nose at going, oh, it's just another one of these.
Yep.
And so when I started watching, okay, first of all, hey, it's Emily Blunt, so somebody's going to give a good performance in this.
Yeah.
And then I had very much the opposite reaction to you two, or once the supernatural stuff started happening, like, oh, I'm much more interested now. Because I thought also
it was going to be frozen in a car.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, I've seen this already. And funnily enough, I actually made the comment to Terry while we were watching this that, that once it gets into that time loop thing where things just keep resetting, this really reminds me of another movie I saw from around the same period called Dead End.
Oh yeah, that's the one with thing. Like Lynn Shay and Ray Wise.
Richard E. Grant is in it for a little bit. He's the guy who drives the hearse at the end.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, funnily enough, as soon as the credits rolled on this, Tubi said, "Up next, Dead End." So I must have known. So yeah, this was actually a really pleasant surprise for me. I thought it was really good, and I really dug the supernatural aspect. I like those kind of things were bad, but now they're so much worse, and we're trapped in this loop. And how the fuck, like, what is the action we need to make? What is the ritual we need to perform, whatever, to appease whatever's going on here so that we can break out of this fucking Groundhog Day nightmare of these weird, bloated, melty-faced ghosts and these creepy priests and and the evil cop. And yeah, I thought it was really cool. And Mike, is it just me, or did the kid driving the car look a lot like the guy from Romeo and Juliet who's taking over the meatpacking plant and is obsessed with making olive loaf?
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to go back and
You
look
know
to
that
see
guy?
Yeah.
I gotta go
it
back and look
does.
now.
It really does.
Yeah,
Yes.
I thought he maybe looked familiar. Maybe
I actually looked it up while you were watching it. It's like, it can't be, because that was way before this,
yeah.
and this kid is too young. But he actually has been in some other stuff I've seen, so he looked familiar for another reason too. But I just thought that was funny. I just kept expecting it, like when they were talking about, oh, I left all the gourmet groceries that you wanted. I bought all this stuff, and then you left them back at the gas station, and I just kept expecting to pull out a package of olive loaf.
oh yeah, I
turning
think I
into
know.
the
I think I know who you're talking about. Yep. I see it. Nice.
Yeah, so I think if you're into that kind of stuff, it's good for that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's on me that I had a certain set of expectations and it went in the wrong direction. Because I liked Dead End. If similar.
Kind of made me want to rewatch that, because I haven't seen that probably since it came out.
But also I think maybe that just worked better in Dead End too. As with this one, I just didn't find any of the ghosty stuff interesting or
it
scary
might
or
also help
suspenseful.
that, like, there's a lot of humor in Dead End, and this one is just completely straight-faced serious the whole time.
Which could also be on me as well. Because if you don't have any levity, I can get bored pretty quick too.
I still think it's worth a watch, and I think we could all say
it's worth a watch.
better than we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, based on what we're all saying. I'm with you guys too. I remember seeing it on the shelves and just being like some direct-to-video crap that just clogs up my video store shelves.
Young Emily Blunt. So
Yeah, I think Black Christmas, like the original, like when it first came to Blu-ray or DVD, they had a similar like aesthetic cover to this.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah,
so awful.
Yep.
But it's like that era just had that kind of like, that kind of cover. It just like fits a time, and I was the same way. Looked right past it for several years, and I don't really
this bizarre practice of putting out older movies with covers that looked like newer movies.
Yes, yeah.
So they might have been trying to, like, oh, this is an old movie from the 70s. Young kids aren't going to want to rent it, but if we make it look like this movie with this up-and-coming star, Emily Blunt, maybe people will rent it. I remember when Near Dark got re-released on DVD after the Twilight movies blew up. They made the cover of Near Dark look like a Twilight movie, and I was just thinking, oh man, some teeny boppers are going to get their fucking worlds rocked when they rent this thing.
Which I love. Like, yeah, I love the idea of people just like, I want to check this out. And
Oh, fuck.
And I mean, I said it, I sort of interrupted Jason because I felt the same way, where I was like invested a little bit. But then again, I agree with Brian where I'm like, if it would have just stayed in the car, it would have just been frozen in a car. But going full ghost, I was like, I sort of checked out, and it was fine. I wasn't mad about it. I mean, overall, everything on this episode is worthy of a watch. Will I watch it again? No, but I'm not like offended by it. So
yeah, no, I don't think any of us are. No. No. Yeah, it's worth at least a watch for sure. Yeah. What trivia do you have for it, though, Tad?
After the crash, car interior scenes were shot on a stage, while all exterior scenes were shot on an actual cold, snowy road with trailers on location to keep cast and crew warm in between takes.
Ha! Adam Green did it better. Just shot it all in the elements, man.
That's right.
Fuck stages.
Neither of the two main characters' names are mentioned during the movie. In fact, none of the characters are named.
Yeah, I noticed that watching it.
I did not.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't
even in the credits, it was just like the guy and the girl.
Yeah. An earlier draft of the script had Guy surviving longer until the confrontation with the cop while in the tow truck, but it was thought that it made more sense that he died earlier and came back as a ghost, plus it was more unexpected. I read that and I'm like, I don't even remember that happening. I watched it 2 nights ago, so not a good sign. But yeah, that's the trivia I have.
Okay. So, Brian, what's our next movie?
The last movie of the night, and the best movie of the night, is 1977's The White Buffalo.
In the year 1874, a great white beast roamed the Black Hills of Dakota. It was powerful enough to destroy anyone or anything that stood in its path. It was hated and hunted. It was worshipped and feared. It was the White Buffalo. Now, the creators of King Kong bring another legendary creature to the screen. Dino De Laurentiis presents The White Buffalo. Starring Charles Bronson as Wild Bill Hickok, a man who feared nothing.
Again, Bill!
Except being afraid. He was haunted by a nightmare which drove him to the brink of madness. The White Buffalo. Will Sampson as Crazy Horse, a proud warrior sworn to kill a sacred enemy, the White Buffalo. Also starring Jack Warden, Stuart Whitman, Clint Walker, Slim Pickens, John Carradine, and Kim Novak.
This buffalo is mine.
That buffalo will belong to the hunter who kills him.
A thundering spectacle, a shattering experience. When 2 legendary enemies join forces to battle the greatest legend of them all, the White Buffalo.
All right, an aging Wild Bill Hickok heads back to the West once more. He's dying-ish, maybe, of syphilis. He's going blind, so he has to wear dark glasses, and he's traveling under an assumed name, so his many enemies that he's made over his lifetime don't come gunning for him, because he's been waking up having these horrible nightmares of this giant white buffalo charging him down in this snow-covered clearing. And at the same time, the white buffalo has plowed through the camp of the Lakota war chief Crazy Horse and killed his daughter. And their medicine man tells him that he must assume the name of Worm, and that he is not welcome back to their tribe until he can bring back the hide of this monster and wrap his dead daughter in it to put her spirit to rest. And so they meet on the trail of the beast and are at odds at first, but become friends over the course of the movie and end up taking down the monster. As I already said, this is the best movie of the show, so obviously it's no secret that I love this flick. And it's, I have an interesting history of this. This is the only movie that I ever watched with my paternal grandfather. Not out of, like, you know, we didn't have a bad relationship or anything. We spent lots of time together, but most of it was spent, like, you know, my dad was a farmer and his dad before him and so on and so forth. So most of the quality time I spent with my grandpa was doing farm work. And we didn't really share a lot of other interests, but my parents used to go on a lot of motorcycle trips. And so one week they were gone and I stayed with Grandma and Grandpa. And Grandpa wanted to watch this because it was a Charles Bronson Western. In fact, this was the last Western Bronson ever made before he moved on to do more of the Death Wish type stuff. And I wanted to watch it because it looked like a monster movie from the trailer that was on TV. And so I'm sure he didn't really give a shit about the buffalo parts. And I don't know how old I was, 7 or 8 probably. I didn't really care that much about the Wild West action parts. I just wanted to see the monster. But so we both sat and watched this movie, and that's, you know, really fond memory that I'll always have of it. But I've watched it a bunch of times since then, and man, I love this flick. It's so good. It's you know, it's a little bit Moby Dick. There are parts of it that are reminiscent, even though Razorback came after this. There's especially one part really reminds me of Razorback. Once they get up into the mountains and find the cave where the buffalo's been hiding out, and you see its shoulder moving between the rocks, and he takes a shot at it. Like, there's a shot in Razorback. I swear Russell Mulcahy must have seen this movie, because the scene in Razorback where Jake sees the pig for the first time at the watering hole, it's like the exact same setup. But the buffalo was built by Carlo Rambaldi, which kind of amazes me that Dino De Laurentiis would even talk to him after King Kong 76, let alone hire him again to make more special effects. But by God, they did. So in the movie, and it's not like really belabored, but there's one point where he's talking to oh God, what's Poker Jenny? I think the character that Kim Novak plays. He says something about one of your,
Miss Poker Jenny.
Yeah. One of your Scarlet Sisters dosed me good. So, like, the nightmares of the buffalo may be being caused by the syphilis eating away his brain, but it's definitely taking a toll on his eyesight. The actual Wild Bill Hickok also had fucked up eyes and had to wear dark glasses as he aged. He was diagnosed with glaucoma in 1876. Although there was another eye disease called trachoma that was prevalent around the same time that may have been the cause of that, but that's neither here nor there. The legend of the white buffalo itself and Crazy Horse being involved does have some roots in Lakota history. They have a story of what they call the White Buffalo Maiden, and the story is kind of similar to the Japanese story of the Snow Woman, which we talked about a little bit when we did the Tales from the Dark Side movie, because the gargoyle segment in this based on that. But the White Buffalo Maiden, the story goes, there was this terrible time of famine, and the chief of the Lakota sends out 2 scouts to look for food. And while they're traveling, they see this cloud. And from the cloud, a woman emerges wearing... she's the most gorgeous woman either of them have ever seen, and she's wearing white buckskins. And the first man just is lusting for her, and he goes after her, and they disappear back into the cloud. And when the cloud clears, there's just a pile of his bones at her feet. But the second man, he understands what the other guy did wrong and is just trying to make peace with her, essentially. And so she tells him, your intentions are good. I'm not going to harm you. In fact, I'm going to help your people. And so she taught him some sacred ceremonies and bestowed to him the ceremonial pipe, the peace pipe, more or less, to perform these ceremonies with. So there is some Lakota mythology involved in this, which is why Worm being Crazy Horse in reality is important. And so this is directed by J. Lee Thompson. He did a ton of Bronson's other movies, 10 to Midnight, The Evil That Men Do, I think a couple of the later Death Wish sequels. He also did the last 2 classic Planet of the Apes films, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes and Battle for the Planet of the Apes. So he's got some real monster kid cred there. And then the cinematographer was Paul Lohman. The same year that he made this, he also shot Mel Brooks's High Anxiety and the awesome TV movie Curse of the Black Widow, in which Patty Duke turns into a giant were-spider with Rodan's roar.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's my spiel on the White Buffalo.
I love this one. This one.
I was so worried that you guys would think it was boring or something.
I saw the beginning, just badass, the opening credit sequence, and then you see I went in just completely blind as much as I could. When you're searching on Tubi and Bronson's on the poster, I almost wish I didn't see Bronson, just because I'm like, I got my hopes up, and I'm like, keep your expectations in check, because I fucking love him. And then I saw him wearing the glasses that clearly Tarantino stole for Django, and I'm like, all right, we're in for it. And like a weird animatronic, like literally a white buffalo. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. Like, I thought this was badass. It was like I don't know. I was like, is this horror? It doesn't matter. It's a good movie, and it's just like something that can only come out of that era of like gritty, but just I don't know. It's like a monster movie, but it's not a monster movie. It's a Western, but it's not a Western. It has all the good things of all those combined, and I thought it was a blast. This is really cool. Is there any kind of like special cool 4K or Blu-ray of this, Brian?
Kino Lorber has it on Blu-ray. It hasn't come out on 4K yet, and I need to get that. I haven't picked it up yet, but every time they have a big sale, I buy a bunch of shit, and I'm like, I'll get that one next time. I've seen it like half a dozen times already, and then watching it again for this, like, God damn it, why don't I own this movie? It's so fucking good.
I love the idea of like Bronson just like blasting his gun and like waking up from a deep sleep and just shooting. Like never ask him to be your roommate. Like put him in like a sitcom. It's like, oh, he shot the fucking through the wall again.
For me, I'm just so glad that one of this story that could have been that's just you don't find it in the history books can finally be told. That this is a true story, right?
No.
This is a history,
just historical characters,
just historical movie.
Although I'd like to think it really happened.
Well, yes, I liked it too. You get to win on this one. It's for
Finally.
for me, I can't believe anybody said it yet, but I have never seen a movie with fucking dialogue like this. Jesus Christ, this was written by someone on it was amazing.
That was written by the his last Richard Sale, something Sale. I'm drawing a blank. It's based on his novel.
Richard
and he
Sale.
got hired to write
Yep.
Richard Sale, yeah, and he wrote the script too. So
It's just not. I'm like, it stood out. It's just like it's unrelenting, just crazy dialogue. I'm like, I gotta. It was challenged to just try to keep up with the way they spoke, and just. It was incredible.
A lot of like Western slang, but the dialogue also seems very heightened. It's like Western Shakespeare almost.
Yes.
Like it's got this really doom and gloom and epic kind of quality to it that, it's different than just your average John Wayne Western.
I don't know if it lended it to be that more fairy tale than it was, but yeah.
I'm sure it helps, yeah.
Yeah.
I never thought about that, but you're right.
Yeah, man, that was the thing that stood out the most. And then we got enough, but I'm like, for most of the movie, I'm like, give me more of these buffalo shots, man.
Yeah.
I want to see this thing stomping and kicking some ass. I love it so much.
Which will be a little bit of that in the trivia.
Oh, good.
I want you to clip out you saying, give me more of these buffalo shots, because you know what that means, right?
I don't.
Probably don't want to.
Don't Google it, listeners.
I don't give two shits about Charles Bronson. I can't stand his mustache, and I took everything I had to just not look at it the whole movie. Sorry, that's just me. It's a personal thing.
I wish Andy was here to give us his best Bronson. It's a white buffalo.
But
I can't do it.
Yeah,
that was so close.
You almost had it.
But everyone around him is a good enough actor to kind of string him in.
Jack Warden was
he's
great
good for this kind of thing.
I love Jack Warden so much.
He was
so
good in this too. I loved his beard and hair, and I'm like, just fucking like Crazy Horse for a goddamn second, you crazy old man.
I know, right?
The bit where they finally do make friends and he gives him that rifle.
Yeah.
And he introduces himself, and Crazy Horse is like, wait, are you the guy that used to terrorize my people they called One Eye? And he's like, yes, I am. He's like, but you have two eyes. And then he pops his one eye out. He's like cackling and dancing around, and Crazy Horse is like, what the fuck kind of bullshit is this? And then Wild Bill takes the eye and like whacks it against the coffee can. Like, no, it's just glass. He's
Just
not a
fucking-
magician.
Getting a little John Carradine, Slim Pickens in there. I forgot how much I could just listen to that guy all day.
Yep.
I just love that. Like watching the opening credits and it says Slim Pickens. I'm like, that's so ridiculous. That's someone's fucking name.
I know. So stupid.
Watch him ride the buffalo down to ground zero.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't realize Martin Cove was in that, and I don't remember that. But anyway, but yeah, it was a great cast, incredible dialogue that was just rode the line of being too crazy. But and then just I love the history lesson.
And isn't it why, like this movie and the book, which I have not read, I need to try to find a copy, but this movie got absolutely ripped to pieces by critics when it came out. Like nobody liked it. And I'm watching it now, you're like, why?
I feel like maybe that it was like people saw it as trying too hard to be past successes.
Maybe.
I mean, there's definitely.
Well, I guess watching it this far on from its release, we're coming at it from a standpoint of, God, they just don't make them like this anymore.
It's right.
There's nothing else like this, is there?
You know,
really like this?
I could imagine back in the day that this could show up on maybe like a Jaws ripoff list.
Yes.
Or, you know, down to the fact that you've got like 3 people teaming up at the end to take out the buffalo is kind of similar. And I want to talk about that for a second. That's some of my favorite stuff is between Will
Crazy
Sam.
Horse is like, smile, you son of a...
Yeah, between them 3, because I love stories where people who hate each other, like, you know, mortal enemies, have to team up to take out a bigger enemy.
Team up.
And I love those moments of like in the cave around the campfire or whatever, where
Put our shit aside.
They just they have to look out for each other and team up, even though once it's over, Jack is ready to and finds out that that's Crazy Horse is so quick to shoot the guy in the back, you know. So that's the aspect of the movie. What's that?
Well, that exchange that Bill and Crazy Horse have, where Bill's telling him, like, you know, the white men are like locusts, there are too many and their weapons are too terrible for you to stand up against, and Crazy Horse is like, well, that's bullshit, we were here first, this is our place. And Bill's like, no, that's just the, you know, you're speaking red truth and I'm speaking the white man's truth. And Crazy Horse goes, oh, the white man's truth is just greed, you asshole.
Yep. Oh yeah, I'm with you guys. It's definitely some great dialogue and just great scenes like that, which is also some of the same stuff I liked about Jaws. Those 3 guys who probably would never have ever met up and hung out at a bar together are now forced in this situation to sit around and look out for each other and take out this bigger threat. I love the buffalo effects. I'm so happy to hear you guys love those shots of the buffalo too, because it could, you know, kind of come off. It's like you show it just a minute too long and it's going to look really fake. But I feel like, you know, by cranking the shutter a bit and doing a lot of the medium shots or those like close-up shots, just really effective, and you really feel that creature in the space. And also like some of those wide shots using some forced perspective almost gives it like an otherworldly quality to those scenes too.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
That to me is where this can fall into the horror category as being like a monster flick. I mean, I'm watching this movie and I'm thinking back to things like King Kong or Jaws. Razorback was a great example though, because I feel like you're right. Like a lot of the way the boar was shot in Razorback is really similar to the way they shot the buffalo effects in this.
And you were saying this has kind of an otherworldly feel, and like Razorback way much more so because it's intended to look like kind of a nightmare music video thing, but it's kind of the same. The stuff on the soundstage in that clearing, and especially the bit where the buffalo plows through that wall of ice.
Yes.
That looks, all of that stuff has that great like fake real. Like it's
yeah.
doesn't look like, you're never gonna think, okay, they really got a buffalo to do that, but it looks so cool that you don't care that you know it's fake.
Exactly. That's my point. And that's where I feel like that can put this movie into, say, the animal attacks subgenre of horror. Yeah, I just really loved it as well, guys. I'm with you, 100%.
Awesome. That makes me so happy. I was afraid everyone was going to think this was boring.
I feel like a new segment, like in at least the last 2 episodes, is like you could almost do like did Tarantino take from this? Because it's like again, I was watching this and I'm like, okay, I see. Like I'm watching this, I'm like, I bet Tarantino loves this shit, and then Google it, and of course they're like, yeah, he took the like sunglasses, that Bronson wore and made Django, Jamie Foxx wear them in Django Unchained. And
so you weren't kidding when you said
no,
that he stole those glasses.
And he talks. There's when you Google like Tarantino. And the movie title, it pops up with some facts about him talking about it on his podcast and how much he loves it. And it's like, that makes sense.
What trivia do you have for this one? Or I guess what more trivia do you have for
There
this
was a lot, but I tried to slim it down so I didn't talk all night. This was Novak's first theatrical film in several years. Then 44, she arrived on the set nervous and self-conscious. Bronson sensed her anxiety and intentionally screwed up his lines in their first scene together to reduce her fear and bolster her confidence.
Oh, that's sweet.
Nice guy, Bronson.
Yeah.
Here's some buffalo trivia. Originally, the film was shot never showing the full white buffalo, with only some over-the-shoulder shots of its horns and head. This was the prop used in the bedroom at Poker Jenny's house, which, he shoots, and it's like, who has a fucking buffalo head on their wall? I guess different times. Dino De Laurentiis saw the rough cut and was frustrated with how little the buffalo was shown, so Carlo Rambaldi was brought in to create the animatronic buffalo and everything else in the production after everything in the production had already wrapped. The shots tying in the main actors of the animatronic buffalo were all done with stand-ins. The shot of the buffalo falling to the ground had to be done in one take because it was designed to fall off of its railing and break in its own internal rigging. Luckily, everything worked to plan.
Oh, yeah.
So for once, one of Rambaldi's
things
ambitious animatronic effects actually worked. How great was this scene where it rampages through the Lakota camp, by the way? Like, gory and
I'm
brutal.
Like, you just horned somebody's face off. Lord.
And again, this movie was PG, just like Jaws. It's like, without that PG-13 in there, it wasn't quite bad enough for an R. So people are taking their kids to see this movie, and it's like, there's people getting their faces ripped off and disemboweled and trampled.
But I feel like more people need to see this because we're watching cell phone videos of people at like Yosemite trying to feed fucking buffalo and getting destroyed. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, that's the Darwin Awards, but it's like, maybe if you watch White Buffalo, you'd know not to fucking feed them. Some more buffalo trivia. The white buffalo was originally to be portrayed by a cow wearing a costume, but the results were deemed unusable. Reportedly, all footage of the cow were discarded, but one obvious shot remains of the costume cow charging in the background when Crazy Horse runs up the boulder in the foreground. So I need to go back and watch that one shot of a costumed cow. And then the last bit I had was Will Sampson temporarily halted production when he discovered that the producers had hired Caucasian actors to play the Oglala Lakota Indians in one of the scenes. He refused to act until they were changed to Native American actors, which is super progressive and woke.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah. Who would have thought that, especially back then, man?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Well, sweet. All right. Well, guys, I'm way too cold, so we need to stop talking about winter horror movies. We're going to take a quick break and so we can warm up. When we come back, we're going to finish off the show with our final 2 segments. First, you're going to hear a promo for our podcast network called the Prescribed Films Podcast Network. The PFPN is home to so many great shows, such as Earbuds, 2 lifelong best friends, 2 greatly different tastes in music. What could go wrong? Each week, comedians Joey and Landon take turns choosing a favorite album for the other to listen to. Check out Earbuds and all the other amazing shows at thepfpn.com. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back to the show. Now it's time to hear from you guys, the listeners. Here's Jason with shout-outs.
It's time for
Shout-outs! 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 Shout-outs!
All right, we asked, what are your favorite winter horror movies? And we got some good responses. Up first, in our Facebook group edition, we got Jacob McLaughlin says, The Thing is a perfect movie, and I watch it every year when we get our first big snowstorm. It's perfect for that weather. I think we all agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
Blood Beat captures the look and feeling of a rural Wisconsin winter so perfectly. One of my favorite December movie traditions.
Don't listen to him.
Nope.
No, that movie is awesome.
Nope. Robert Eggers' Nosferatu is one that I will be revisiting during the cold winter months. It honestly made me feel cold in my seat both times that I saw it in the theater. It really captures the bitter, freezing feelings of the season. Agreed. He goes on to say, Suspiria 2018 also feels like the coldest winter nights. Oh, yeah.
Still haven't seen that.
Oh, Brian. The original Invisible Man takes place in the winter, and seeing that Jack Griffin can only be fully transparent with no clothing on is another one that feels a bit chilly. Up next, we got the Reebster. Mike Reeb. He says the original Thing from Another World.
Hell yeah.
And the John Carpenter one is good too. that's my inflection. He also says Ravenous and Winter Beast.
Winter Beast.
Fuck yes.
Okay.
Should we do another one of these? We could do Winter Beast and Frostbite or Wrath of the Wendigo.
Dude, you don't know how hard it was. How
we
hard
had
it was
a good episode, guys.
I wanted to put Winter Beast on the list so bad.
Have you seen Frostbiter, Mike?
I have not, no.
I think that's even better than Winter Beast.
Sold.
Better, he says.
Better, yeah.
Up next, we got attacker Tim Lenimer says, Ravenous is a fantastic movie anyway, but watching it when there's 6 inches of snow on the ground and the wind howling outside makes it even more better. Let the Right One In and its American remake, Let Me In, are also great looks at a doomed kid getting groomed to be a child vampire's Renfield in Sweden / the U.S. Circle 1. Oh, yeah, I love those movies. Very cold. All versions of Black Christmas are set in the winter as well, but the original is the best of them.
Well, yeah.
Both versions of The Thing, the John Carpenter one and the original from the nifty 50s, are both fantastic in their own ways. And 30 Days of Night ain't bad either.
That's a good one.
And you can do a Stephen King double feature with The Shining and Misery. The Shining isn't my favorite Kubrick, but damn, does he make the winter temperatures nearly a tactile thing when you're watching it.
What's his favorite Kubrick?
Talk about Stephen King and leave out Storm of the Century.
Yeah.
For winter.
Up next,
we're watching The Shining tomorrow in theaters. I'm excited.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for you. Mm-hmm. Up next, we got attacker Casey Kelderman says the one that defines that inescapable dread of winter is The Shining. Mm-hmm. That's Casey's pick there. All right, and then over on our Facebook page, the main page, hey, we got Nightmare Junkhead.
Woo!
Antonia's Birds Ravenous. Antonia Bird's Ravenous plays so much better when snow is on the ground. And Osgood Perkins' The Black Coat's Daughter is just as chilling as its winter-based setting. Oh, I fucking love that movie. A24. Up next, we got Pearl Morgan. That's right. From Land of the Creeps over there.
Yeah.
Pearl says, Frozen, Wind Chill.
She got the third one?
Jack Frost. Almost. So close.
Very similar.
Yeah, and then she also says, it's her top 5 maybe, Misery and The Thing. Almost got it. Up next, we got Attacker Rose. She says, let the right one in. The sweetest version is the best version, in her opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The Wolf of Snow Hollow.
Great pick.
So funny. And, of course, The Shining. Oh, Wolf of Snow Hollow. God dang. Up next, we got Attacker Tiffany DeWeese. She says, hands down, Misery. Back when I used to read a lot, I read the book first. The movie actually lined up with my imagination pretty well. Plus, Kathy Bates is a beast.
Yeah, good pick.
I said it once. I'll say it a million times. I feel like the ankle scene in the movie is probably better than in the book. Didn't she chop it off in the book? But then to see
use like an axe instead of a hammer or something.
Yeah, but then to use that hammer and to see that foot go, yeah, it is just so much more painful in the mind.
And then we got Attacker Brett Royer. He comments on Tiffany's post saying, the Misery book is my favorite Stephen King book. So good. So good. That's all the shout outs we got today. Remember, you can give us a call and leave a voicemail. That's pretty cool. People used to do that. They don't anymore. I guess maybe we can just unplug the answer machine.
Spun it off into a whole ass podcast.
Yeah, they're busy recording their own Bubble Boys show now. Yeah, or we can just be done with it. I don't know. We can delete it. But if not, you can always call us at 415-952-6857. That's 415-95-AOTKP. Leave us a voicemail. We'll play it on the show. And that is shout-outs.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Winter.
Winter who?
Winter podcast is over. It's time for Insane's Picks, don't you know?
One of the most underrated filmmakers of the 1970s was William Girdler.
Hell yeah.
He may not have a large body of work. Well, that's considering he died way too young in a tragic helicopter accident. But in a span of only 6 years, he made a total of 9 films. Such films like Asylum of Satan, Abby, Day of the Animals, and of course the classic Grizzly. But for Insane's Picks, we're going to cover one of his earliest films, his version of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 years before the Texas Chainsaw Massacre ever came out. I'm talking about, of course, 3 on a Meat Hook from 1972. 4 girls go on a trip to the lake for the weekend, and when their car breaks down, they meet a young man named Billy, who offers them a place to stay for the night at his family's farm. Billy's father, Frank, is not too happy that he brought these women back with him. The 3 girls are murdered, and then Frank has convinced Billy that he was the one that killed them. Many micro-budget films would pad out their movies with extended walking scenes or extended driving scenes. But no, not in the 1970s. If you were to pad out your no-budget movie, you would do it with prolonged musical acts performing full songs in either a bar or a nightclub. 3 on a Meat Hook is one of the greatest examples of this, when Billy goes to the bar to drown his sorrows, and the band on the stage has more screen time than any of the kills in the movie. Speaking of the kills, they're not really anything special, although there's at least one, in my opinion, that's worth the price of admission for its cheese factor. One of the girls gets her head chopped off with an axe. The effect in the shot, it shows the axe implanted into the wall, and her head is on top of that side of the axe, and the fake torso underneath and falls over. Now, to sell this effect, they didn't make like a fake head of the woman or anything. No, they used the real woman's head. So what they did is they stuck her head out of a hole made into the wall. Now, I didn't read that anywhere. It's just blatantly obvious. Now, this could only be done in the 1970s back when walls were made out of fake wood paneling. This was Girdler's second film, even though it was released the same year as his first film, Asylum of Satan. 3 on a Meat Hook was slightly influenced by the Ed Gein story. Most of his crew was comprised of the Asman brothers, John on sound, William on camera, Bud as the editor, all of which has gone on to huge careers in Hollywood. The film was funded by a local realtor as well as money from Girdler's own trust fund. The movie didn't make a huge impact upon its release, but did get noticed by Sam Arkoff, who later produced Williams' film Abby, which is a black exploitation exorcist ripoff film. 3 on a Meat Hook is not a good movie, but it does have a footnote in films inspired by Ed Gein, and is a must-watch for any William Girdler fans. So I recommend checking out 1972's 3 on a Meat Hook. And that is it for the show. Thank you all for listening so much.
Ooh, it's cold in here.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait to go home and take off this heavy coat, and I can't even fake it. It's like 100 degrees in your apartment.
I know,
right
it's
now.
weird.
So, you want more Attack of the Killer podcast in your lives? Well, go to our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That'd be amazing. We're also on what's left of TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook, Discord, Threads, and be sure to rate and review us on iTunes. That would be cool. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and we'll talk to you again next time on Attack of the Killer podcast.
Oh no, could this be the end of? Attack of the Killer Podcast. Attack of